Have you ever stopped to think about why a week has exactly 7 days? Or why bees chose to build their homes in six-sided shapes? Or why you have exactly 5 fingers and not 4 or 6? These aren't random accidents. There's a reason behind all of it, and once you see it, you'll never look at numbers the same way again. We use numbers every single day without giving them a second thought. They're just there, on our clocks, on our phones, on price tags. But here's the thing. These simple digits we learned as kids are hiding some of the biggest secrets of how our universe works. They shape nature, they influence how our brains function, and they've guided human civilization for thousands of years. Today, I want to take you on a quick journey through just 3 numbers, 5, 6, and 7. They might seem ordinary, but trust me, by the time we're done, you're going to see just how extraordinary they really are. These aren't just numbers, they're keys to understanding patterns that connect everything from the petals on a flower to the music you listen to. So stick with me, because what you're about to hear might just change the way you see the world around you. Look, most guys walk into a conversation already thinking about what they're going to say next. They're not actually listening. They're just waiting for their turn to talk. Women pick up on this immediately, and it kills any chance of real connection. Genuine curiosity is different. It's when you actually want to know who this person is, not because you're trying to get something from her, but because you find her interesting as a human being. Think about it this way. When was the last time someone asked you a question and you could tell they really wanted to hear your answer? It feels good, right? It makes you want to share more. It makes you feel valued. That's exactly what happens when you bring real curiosity into a conversation with a woman. She can feel the difference between a guy who's asking questions just to fill silence and a guy who genuinely wants to understand her world. Here's what this looks like in practice. When she tells you about her job instead of immediately talking about yours, you ask her what got her into that field. When she mentions a hobby, you ask her how it makes her feel when she's doing it. You go deeper instead of wider. The energy shifts when you do this. She starts talking more. Her body language opens up. She begins sharing things she doesn't tell everyone. This isn't a technique you can fake. Women have been reading social cues their whole lives. They know when someone is genuinely interested versus when someone is running a script. So before your next conversation, ask yourself one question. Am I actually curious about this person? If the answer is yes, let that curiosity lead and watch how differently she responds to you. Let me tell you something most guys completely miss. A woman can find you attractive and still keep her walls up. She can enjoy talking to you and still not let you in. The missing piece is almost always emotional safety. Emotional safety means she feels like she can be herself around you without being judged or hurt. She doesn't have to perform or pretend. She doesn't have to watch every word she says because she's scared you'll use it against her or make fun of her later. When a woman feels emotionally unsafe, she stays guarded. Her answers stay short. She keeps things surface level. Even if she likes you, she won't open up because the risk feels too high. Now think about what makes you feel safe around certain people. They don't interrupt you. They don't make you feel stupid for having certain feelings. They don't share your secrets with others. They make you feel like whatever you say is okay. You create the same feeling for her by how you respond when she shares something personal. If she tells you about a fear and you laugh, she will never tell you anything real again. If she opens up about a past relationship and you judge her, she learns that vulnerability with you is dangerous. But when you listen without criticism and respond with understanding, something changes. She relaxes. Her guard comes down. She starts telling you things she hasn't told other guys because you've proven you can handle it. This is where real intimacy begins. Not through smooth lines or clever tactics, but through making her feel like being vulnerable with you is safe. Once that door opens, she naturally wants to be closer to you in every way. Most conversations stay on the surface because most questions stay on the surface. You ask about her job. You ask about her weekend plans. You ask where she went to college. These questions tell you facts about her life, but they tell you nothing about who she actually is. Questions that reveal values go deeper. They show you what drives her, what keeps her up at night, what makes her feel alive. This is the stuff that matters when you're trying to build a real connection with someone. When you ask a woman about her passions, you learn what lights her up from the inside. When you ask about her fears, you learn what she's protecting herself from. When you ask about her goals, you learn where she's trying to go in life. This information is gold because it shows you who she really is beneath the surface. Here's why this creates bonding. When someone shares their values with you, they're giving you a piece of themselves. They're trusting you with something personal. That exchange creates a feeling of closeness that small talk never can. Think about your closest friendships. You didn't become close by talking about the weather. You became close by sharing real things, dreams you were chasing, struggles you were facing, moments that shaped who you are. The same thing works with women. When you skip past the boring stuff and ask questions that actually matter, you fast-track the connection. She starts to feel like you get her in a way other guys don't. Try asking her what she would regret not doing in her life. Ask her what values she would never compromise on. Ask her what kind of life she's building for herself. Watch how differently she looks at you after those conversations. Here's something that might surprise you. The questions you ask are only half the equation. The other half is what you do after she answers. This is where most guys completely blow it without even realizing what went wrong. You could ask the most perfect question in the world, but if you're checking your phone while she answers, it means nothing. If your eyes are wandering around the room, she notices. If you immediately jump to your own story, without acknowledging what she said, she feels it. Active listening means you're fully present when she's talking. Your body is facing her. Your eyes are on her. Your mind isn't somewhere else. She can feel when you're actually with her versus when you're just physically there. The way you respond to her answers tells her whether it's safe to keep sharing. A simple nod. Repeating back something she said to show you heard it. Asking a follow-up question based on what she just told you. These small things signal that you're paying attention and that what she says matters to you. Most guys are thinking about what to say next while she's still talking. They're planning their response instead of actually hearing her words. Women sense this, and it makes them pull back. When you truly listen, something shifts in the conversation. She feels heard, maybe for the first time in a long time. And that feeling is so rare that it creates instant attraction. She connects that feeling to being around you. So stop worrying so much about having the perfect questions. Focus on being completely present when she speaks. Let her finish. Respond to what she actually said. That's what makes her want to keep talking and keep getting. So the number 5 is honestly one of the most fascinating numbers out there. It sits right in the middle of our basic counting digits from 1 to 9, and humans have had a deep connection with it since the very beginning, because we have 5 fingers on each hand and 5 toes on each foot. That's actually why so many ancient civilizations built their counting systems around it. In mathematics, 5 is a prime number, meaning nothing divides into it evenly except 1 and itself. It's the third prime number after 2 and 3, and it plays a role in all sorts of equations and patterns. It's also a Fibonacci number, showing up in that famous sequence where each number is the sum of the two before it. Nature loves the number 5 in a big way. If you look at flowers, a huge number of species have exactly 5 petals. Starfish have 5 arms. Apples, when you cut them in half horizontally, reveal a 5-pointed star pattern with their seeds. It pops up in natural design so often that scientists and mathematicians have spent centuries trying to understand why. In culture and daily life, 5 is everywhere. We rate things on a scale of 1 to 5 stars. Our senses are traditionally counted as 5: taste, touch, smell, sight, and hearing. The Olympic rings are 5, representing the 5 continents that participate. Most work weeks are 5 days long, which shapes how billions of people live their lives. There's also a psychological angle to it. Research shows that humans can comfortably hold about 5 items in short-term memory at once. That's why phone numbers used to be broken into smaller chunks, and why lists of 5 just feel manageable to us. It's a number that fits how our brains naturally work, which is pretty cool when you think about it. Closer to you, S. The number 6 has a really special place in mathematics because it's what mathematicians call a perfect number. That means if you add up all the numbers that divide into it evenly, which are 1, 2, and 3, they add up to exactly 6. That's a pretty rare thing, and 6 is the smallest number that pulls this off. The next perfect number doesn't show up until 28. In geometry, 6 is a big deal because of the hexagon. Honeybees build their honeycombs using 6-sided cells, and they do this because hexagons are the most efficient shape for storing the maximum amount of honey while using the least amount of wax. It's nature solving an engineering problem without even thinking about it, and that's honestly mind-blowing. Snowflakes always form with 6-fold symmetry, meaning they have 6 branches or 6 sides every single time. This happens because of how water molecules bond together when they freeze. So every winter, trillions of tiny 6-pointed crystals fall from the sky, and each one is unique but always follows that same 6-sided rule. In everyday life, 6 shapes a lot of how we measure things. A standard guitar has 6 strings. Insects all have 6 legs, which is actually how scientists classify them. A standard die has 6 faces, making it the foundation of countless games people have played for thousands of years across every culture on Earth. There's also the idea of 6 degrees of separation, which suggests that any 2 people on the planet are connected through no more than 6 social links. It's a concept that changed how we think about human connection and networking. Time also relies on 6, since we break our hours into 60 minutes and our minutes into 60 seconds, both based on multiples of 6. It quietly organizes so much of our world without most people ever noticing. The number 7 is probably the most universally loved number across all cultures and time periods. When researchers ask people to pick a random number between 1 and 10, the most common answer is almost always 7. There's something about it that just feels special to the human brain, and people have been drawn to it for thousands of years without fully understanding why. In mathematics, 7 is a prime number, meaning it can only be divided by 1 in itself. It's the 4th prime number, and it has some quirky properties that make it stand out. If you divide 1 by 7, you get 0.142857 repeating, and those 6 digits cycle endlessly in the same order, which is a neat little pattern that math lovers really enjoy. Nature and the calendar are deeply tied to the number 7. We organize our entire lives around a 7-day week, a system that dates back to ancient Babylon. They chose 7 because they could see 7 celestial bodies moving across the sky with the naked eye: the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Each day of the week was named after one of them. The visible light spectrum breaks into 7 colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Isaac Newton actually identified these when he passed white light through a prism. Music follows a similar pattern with 7 natural notes in a scale before the pattern repeats at the octave. In human biology, there's the idea that memory works well in chunks of about 7 items. Psychologist George Miller wrote a famous paper about it called The Magical Number 7, showing that our short-term memory handles around 7 pieces of information at once. That's why early phone numbers were 7 digits long. It's a number that keeps showing up in how we process and organize the world around us, almost like our brains are wired to gravitate toward it. So when you step back and look at these numbers, 5, 6, and 7, you start to realize just how deeply they're woven into everything around us. They're not just symbols we use for counting or doing math homework. They show up in nature, in music, in how our bodies work, and in the way we've built entire systems of time and measurement around them. What's really cool is that each of these numbers has its own personality in a way. 5 is practical and grounded in how we physically interact with the world through our hands and senses. 6 is the quiet engineer working behind the scenes in snowflakes, honeycombs, and the way we track every second of every day. And 7 is that mysterious one that humans just can't stop being fascinated by, popping up in everything from the days of the week to the colors of a rainbow. The thing that gets me is that most people go their whole lives without stopping to think about any of this. We use these numbers every single day without appreciating the incredible patterns and stories behind them. Once you start paying attention, though, you see them differently. A snowflake isn't just pretty, it's a 6-sided mathematical masterpiece. A guitar isn't just an instrument, it's 6 strings creating something beautiful. A week isn't just 7 random days. It's a system built on what ancient people saw when they looked up at the sky. Numbers aren't boring. They never were. We just stopped being curious about them somewhere along the way. So next time you come across a 5, 6, or 7, maybe take a second and appreciate just how much is packed into something we usually take for granted. These little digits carry thousands of years of human discovery and natural wonder inside them, and that's something worth thinking about.